Alright guys, welcome back to this new complete tier list. I know that we have talked about the top 5 decks to reach a Master 1 with this month. If you have not seen that, you can check that out in the top right corner. But today we will talk about every deck or every important deck. I know that there will be some decks missing. Maybe your pet deck is missing. Let me know in the comments what you think, where your deck might rank up on these rankings that I had here. By the way, if you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up and the notification bell, as this would help me out a lot. Thank you guys in advance. We have here the best category, where at the end we will crown one deck the best currently. Then we have tier 1 being the best decks in the entire game, tier 2 being kind of in the middle, and then I also have a rogue tier here, and we will quickly go ahead and delete this D tier thingy because I don't want to have too much tier spots basically, and we have a lot of decks to go through. So without further ado, let's start right here. I will not go in depth on every deck, especially not the older ones. So we have Goblin Biker, very interesting here. Goblin Biker will get additional support for this deck in the future, but as of right now, I think that the board that this deck can make is not too expensive. I wanted to say this deck is actually not expensive, but it isn't too impressive. And also the going second game plan isn't great, so this might either be in the tier 2 or in the rogue category. For now, I guess I will put it in rogue. We might want to switch it out later. Yeah, we have the infernal stuff here. Maybe someone can explain to me what this deck even wants to achieve. I've played against this a couple of times. They basically milled their entire deck and then summoned monsters, and then nothing happened. So this kind of seems like one of the worst decks in the game to me personally. We have Ritual Beasts, also one of the new ones, or it's not basically new, but new support for this archetype. I think this is actually one of the hardest decks ever to play, because you need to understand a lot of combo lines, you need to understand how this works, especially with one of the most complicated cards in the game, the Ulticana Hawk, which is also represented here on the picture. This is a very tough deck. Then again, if you can play it good, then it is very strong. It's also nice in this current meta, actually. You can just go for a Protoss Call Fire and be pretty safe that you have caught the right attribute here, and it's not that hard to go into Protoss. You can also play around Nibiru, I learned when being beaten by this in the tournament. So I think for the average player, this might only be a tier 2 deck, but for someone who really has mastered this deck, this is actually a tier 1 deck. I think it will be on the lower tier 1 echelons here, but we will see. We have Branded, which I think is somewhere here in the tier 2 category. We might put this at the bottom of tier 1 later on. We will have to see. I guess top tier 2 is where this is currently at. There is a new lock actually with the DD Vice King, Requiem, I think it's called, and the card that you normally also use in Unchained. So you can once again lock. Obviously, a person that is really good at Branded might be able to put this in the tier 1 category. Then again, I think at the current moment, it's not that great, but we will have to rearrange later on. We have Angel Gear, the other going second deck besides Tenpai, and I think this is definitely not bad, but it's just way so much worse than Tenpai is, that in my opinion, I think this will probably be somewhere here in the rogue category. And then again, I think it's better than the decks we have placed here before. We have, and this is like pure, we have pure, basically the Phantom guys here, Winged Baphomet and the Chimera, all the Chimera stuff. So that's not a Branded Chimera, which I think Branded Chimera would also be here in rogue, but this deck in its pure form, maybe mixed with a bit of Branded, who knows, will also definitely be one of our rogue decks and one of our worst rogue decks. I think Goblin Biker is better. We have Labyrinth, which I've talked about this in my top 5 decks, in my opinion is somewhere here in the tier 1 category. As I already said, we will have to rearrange this later on. Very flexible. You can definitely play a dimensional barrier heavy variant. The Temper Dragon opponent will let you go first. Then you can just go hard into your dimensional barrier and skipping your opponent's turn. Very strong. We have Centurion, a fan favorite. A lot of people are playing it. There will be new support for this in the future. And then again, I think at the moment it's not one of the tier 1 decks, but it's definitely on the top of tier 2. The engine is very strong. The engine is still very strong. And if you can establish your Omni Negate into your Temper opponents, I'm always talking Temper Dragon because this is what we are seeing on the ladder right now. Mainly, that is very strong. Obviously, the problem is that the Cosmic Blazer Dragon, which is one of the most insane boss monsters in the entire game, it has its best points when you go into a grind game where you can continually use the effect of the Cosmic Blazer Dragon, which your opponent can hardly interact with. But against Tenpai, which wants to kill you fast, you will oftentimes not really be able to profit from this very strong boss monster. We have Heroes here, definitely a rogue deck if there ever was one. In my opinion, better than all of these decks here. The game plan is not that unsolid, I would say. You have also your Everything Gets Banished boss monster, which can be kind of nice, but yeah, it's definitely not something to write home about. Has not received significant support for a while now. Might be, because it's definitely a fan favorite, we might see hero support in the future, but for right now, it's not that great. We have Purrely here, in my opinion, a solid tier 2 deck. We will have to see. I guess this places more on the bottom of tier 2. It just has been a bit power crapped with the Expelling Run, especially in a format where there are a lot of Tenpai dragons, hand traps, and a lot of Tempo Dragon players playing a lot of hand traps. It's definitely tricky for this deck to get their main play going from turn 1. If you have one interruption, that can be enough to stop this deck. You can chain in between the attachment of exactly this cat, the Black Sleepy Cat, and a quick play spell to basically say no to the free setting of a trap. So yeah, and since you are running a lot of interactions in the current meta, this is very bad for Purrely. A hand trap heavy meta is not good for the deck. We have Unchained here, definitely a solid deck, but not great into Maxi, unfortunately, not great into Nibiru. Then again, definitely better than Goblin Biker, in my opinion, and might be on the top of the rogue category or on the bottom of the tier 2 category. For now, we'll place it here. We have Dinosaurs representing by Voiceless, a good rogue strategy, in my opinion, that might be placed somewhere under heroes, in my opinion. We have Exosister being able to play Dimension Shifter and also the ability to play into Dimension Shifter. Definitely not a bad deck, but I would say this is more... Yeah, also somewhere at the top of Rogue here. I would say I would definitely pick this over Goblin Biker if I would have to choose. But I think Agent Gear might be a bit better. We have a Fire King Snake Eye that is obviously still a tier 1 deck. We will have to see how this places against the other decks, but I think it is better than Ritual Beast, We have Flaunt Reese, which at the current moment is actually not that bad. I think still a Rogue deck, because there have been so many Flaunt resets, even though we have gotten new support with the quick play spell, that I think this can never ever be more than a Rogue deck, and I would honestly place it somewhere here in the middle of Rogue, I guess. We have Sprite variants, definitely been power crapped over the last few months and basically years since the release. Still not bad, but definitely also a Rogue deck that I would put somewhere around here. We have a Lightsworn. I think combining this with Tear Elements is obviously better. Tear Elements also got a very heavy hit, and so Lightsworn, in my opinion, is only a Rogue deck that is not too fancy. We are really talking like pure Lightsworn here, which I will put somewhere, I guess, under Dinos. Can be a fun deck, Judgment Dragon, one of the coolest boss monsters, but really nothing to take to the meta and be successful with it. We have Kashtira variants. Being able to play under Shifters actually quite nice. Having the Kashtira Unicorn isn't bad. For me, this is kind of a top Rogue deck. You can also play some stun elements in this deck. Definitely not bad. We have a Marincess here. Marincess, a very old deck, has been power crept by now extremely, and so this cannot be more than being here on the bottom of Rogue, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Winged Baphomet deck, you are still worse. We have Mathmech, which still is a solid deck. Nothing has really changed when it comes to Mathmech. A lot of people are very hyped about this Link 5 boss monster that basically says your opponent can not, I think, activate anything in the battle phase or something, which is the boss monster you would normally go into. This is not bad, definitely not bad, but then again, Mathmech is also not like the big shiny thing. I think it's better than Purrely because we still have triple Mathmech Circular. It's really strange that we still have it, but somehow this deck has survived being totally destroyed, and now there are decks that are just better than this, so I think it no longer has a target on its back, but it's still very good. Memento, for now, you would either need to put this on the bottom of tier 2 or on the top of the Rogue category. I would say it's more on the top of the Rogue category. I would definitely say Unchained is way more consistent than is Memento, but I will put it somewhere here. I guess I would put the Kashtira variants over this. We will definitely need more support for this, the Fiendsmith support as well as the new Memento support. Then this deck can definitely climb once again back up to tier 2. We have Samurai Beetle hereby representing Rikka in combination with the new Ragnaraka cards, Rikka. Not a bad deck at all, a good combo deck, but can definitely stop by a few hand traps, and going second has a very, very tough time. So this is something that gets at the bottom, at the top of the Rogue category, in my opinion. all in all, I would say it is better than the Kashtira deck, and it's a bit like Ritual Beast in the sense that you really need to understand how to play this deck in order to be good with this, but it's still not bad. And just to make this clear, you can use every deck here on the list to reach Master 1. That's definitely possible. I just wanted to say that these are way worse than the other ones we talked about. We have Raid Raptor. If they can get into their boss monster, that's quite nice. Tenpai Dragon can't really deal with that, but unfortunately, this can be stopped quite easily with one Imperm if you do not have your Raider's Wing. So as this deck can go first a lot against Tenpai opponents, I'm kind of tempted to put it in the bottom of tier 2, because once this boss monster is up, Tenpai can't really deal with that, honestly. But then again, this dies to so many hand traps. For now, we will let it here on the bottom of tier 2, but we will have to think about this in a moment. Rescue Ace combined with Snake Eye Staff is definitely a solid tier 2 deck. Somewhere here I would say over Mathmech, definitely not over branded. I wouldn't put it over branded. All the tools are basically still available. Going first is very strong. You are still very good into Maxi, just setting your 4 traps that are also not bad. Interacting with the Tenpai's board, you can stop your Tenpai opponent from attacking with, for example, the Chandra if you hit it with the 1 trap that they can set. And you also have the Book of Moon, quick effect interaction, so definitely a very solid deck. We have Salamangrate here, which I think is somewhere in the rogue category, definitely at the top. I would say, at least in my opinion, in terms of power level, it is a bit over the plant stuff here, also because it's a bit easier to play, right? That is at least my opinion. We have red Archfiend stuff here, the Scarlight Archfiend guy. I'm not quite sure how this one is called. There's definitely a bottom of a rogue deck. I would put it somewhere here. I would put it under Dinos, I think, because Dinos can definitely be more explosive in my opinion than this, especially because they still have this very unfair monster that they can use to make everything be unaffected. We have Voiceless Voice right here, definitely one of the stronger decks, somewhere here at the top of the tier 2 category in my opinion at least. Definitely very strong, has an okay matchup into Tenpai, because you have this activation negation, which Tenpai cannot be effect negated, but activation negated. This is very strong. Then you have the fact that when the barrier is up, there can only be attacks declared into this boss monster here, and you also have your Sour Abyss to basically negate the Synchro Summons from the deck. Very strong. We have Sky Striker here. A lot of people also mixing Sky Striker with the new Tenpai stuff, and Sky Striker has not really received the new stuff, and now that Tenpai wants this to go first, or lets the Sky Striker enemy go first, this is actually not that great. Then again, if you play Sky Striker and let your opponent go first, then this can be better, but this is in my opinion just a rogue deck. Definitely not bad if it has some good hands, but I wouldn't place this over something like Goblin Biker, in all honesty. We have a Snake Eyes. This is more of a pure Snake Eyes variant. Will definitely be better in the future. Once again, for now, I would place it somewhere here at the top of the tier 2 category. Viking Snake Eyes definitely being the better version. We have a Yubel, which is an extremely good deck in the current meta. I would put it over Viking Snake Eyes at the moment, just because it plays a bit better into Tenpai Dragon, which is everywhere on the ladder. We have Dragon Link, a big combo deck, once again back into the meta, but unfortunately with a lot of Bestials in the deck, not that great against Tenpai Dragon, because all of the Tenpai Dragon monsters are fire. Basically, you are battling against one Bestial Magnamoot there. Solid rogue deck that can definitely establish a strong boss monster at the end of the combo. So in my opinion, I would put it over Plants, honestly. One of the best rogue decks, close to the tier 2 category, but not quite there. We have Super Heavy Samurai, definitely has fallen off due to some bans, but can still produce some strong boards. So I wouldn't put it lower than the Kashtira variant here. Yeah, not a lot of people do like to play this deck. I also didn't, even in the times when this was the strongest deck. I choose to not play it, which is very strange for me, but I just don't enjoy the artworks. We have Sword Soul, still a solid one. Obviously, this is a rogue deck that I would place I guess under Exosister here. You can still, I think, get it for free if you're a new player. A very solid choice that can definitely take you to Master 1. As already said, every deck here can. The difference just being that for some decks you will have to play less, and for some decks you will have to play more because your win rate will be worse, and for some decks you will have to master them more, play them better in order to have good results, and other decks will definitely excuse some of your mistakes just by being so powerful. We have Telements taking a very hefty hit, a very heavy hit, also with a lot of dimension shifters running around in the top decks, not that great. We see some Bystials, Dragonlink is back into the mix, so I think this is somewhere here in the tier 2 category. It can definitely high roll at times. I would put it under Mathmech because I think Mathmech is just a bit more consistent in what it wants to do. Also good going second kill opportunity with your double attack access score talker. Telements still on the map definitely, but compared to the last format where everyone was in Telements, I also think because it's a fun deck, actually not because it was so strong, yeah, it's way weaker. Then we have Temper Dragon. Obviously this is a tier 1 deck. We will choose the best deck at the end. I will place this over every other deck at the current moment here. I have to say we have Trap Tricks, solid rogue option, can definitely tag in some interesting traps also against Tenpai, but yeah, Labyrinth is just a way better the way better trap deck. Now that I see it, I thought I had added a big welcome Labyrinth, so we have to talk about this. Oh, we have it up there already, sorry. But this is just a way worse trap deck. Still not bad. I guess I'm putting it somewhere here above Heroes. Then we have Vanquish Soul. They can play Shifter themselves. They have a nice engine, but they are kind of grindy. They establish advantage in the grind game, which against Temper Dragon isn't that great. So for me, a top of the rogue category deck. I would place this over Salamangreat. This is definitely at the top here. Very solid engine. I can play yeah, an okay amount of hand traps or board breakers depending on what you want to do, and can definitely grind your opponent out quite well. We have Visas here representing Vanadium, a deck that has not been represented on the ladder for a while now. It's definitely not that great. Weak into Nibiru, weak into Maxi. One of the weaker combo decks. I would place it honestly above Memento. I would place it above Memento, at least at the current point in the Memento power cycle, because we are definitely missing some stuff here. So let's rearrange this. I think for Rogue this is kind of nice. I honestly have arranged this in a way that would fit here. Let me just quickly search whether I want to change something up here. I think these are definitely the best decks to play, and obviously, no big surprise here, the best deck at the current moment is Temper Dragon in my opinion. And then we have yeah, in my opinion, Labyrinth here at the second spot, or maybe Yubel. You can definitely debate about this. You can also just put this at the top of the tier 2 category together with Voiceless Voice. I will also not be really mad. I guess these 4 decks here might be the best ones in the current meta, closely followed by these ones here. And I think this will stay for a while. I don't really see any hits to Temper Dragon at the end of the month, so yeah, we will have to see how this turns out. Very interesting. I definitely like the shake-up in the meta, but I'm also interested in your opinion. How do you like the new meta? Are you already bored of Tenpai Dragon? I think there are definitely techs that you can use against this deck, especially in Labyrinth, which is why this is one of the best decks, where you can very easily get access to your dimensional barrier, stopping your Tenpai opponent. Let me know in the comments what you think. Where is your deck ranking? What are you playing at the current moment? Thanks for being here, and we will see each other in the next one.